Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is the first of the working 2025 Project Orchids videos. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to slot these into the updates, but in this case it will be a short video. I'll probably just put them in the playlist so that all the videos about the project are together. Now this is the Pleione Tongariro. This one I actually got from Burnham's, in bloom at the time, and at the time it didn't do what it's done. But nonetheless, the bulb that had the flower on has produced a beautiful leaf, lovely big leaf there, and the old bulb, the one that's destined to shrivel up and die, has produced a bulbil on the top. Now I'm hoping that's going to detach very easily. I've put the camera sort of over my shoulder a bit so that hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just going to tease that gently to the side. First of all, checking where the new roots are. There's a lovely little new root there that I want to maintain. The others are quite long. I'm hoping this is just going to detach like that. And we have a nice set of roots there and a tiny little bulb. So that can now carry on doing what it's doing. The new growth here that bloomed and has now got its new leaf, that leaf is destined to die off in the autumn, shrivel and die, by which time we should have a nice big fat bulb, at least as big and fat as the old one. And who knows, we might get some more bulbils grow to the sides. That remains to be seen. So that can now just go away and do its thing. And I'm not even going to touch that media. We've got a where's my camera? Got a tiny little new growth here. This one's quite short. You can obviously see an active root tip here. There's another active root tip there, and this longer root hasn't got an active growing tip, but it is a viable root. Now all of those are precious. Pleiones only ever grow one set of roots, and if the root tip is damaged, that root stops growing. They don't branch. Excuse me. Right, so I've got a small pot. I've got a mix of small bark, sphagnum moss chopped up into small pieces, and some perlite. And I'm going to put the tiniest bit in the bottom so that that longest root has something to sit on. And then I'm just going to hold that gently, and then without moving the bulb itself, I'm just going to fill in. The reason I'm holding that is so that the media goes in between the roots without me touching it. Now, there's no pressing. These roots are delicate, but what I will have to do now is gently press down the sides and lift this slightly so that I can just see the base like that. There we go. That's it. That's all I'm doing with that. Those roots should now grow on, and when I water this, it's going to firm the media around the bulb and the roots. The whole thing will tighten up. So that's all I need to do there, apart from get a label for it. And I think while I'm at it, I'll do a new label for the mother plant as well, simply because the label that's come from Burnham's is one of these floppy ones, which I'm just not too keen on them. It does actually say the cross. I mean, the Burnham's labels are quite informative. They usually put a bit more detail on than just the plant name. So you've actually got the hybrid name, you've actually got the cross, one of which is a hybrid cross with a species. You've got some indication of the colour, the fact that it's deciduous, the fact that it's a cool grower, minimum 10 degrees. I'd dispute that, I'd say minimum 5. And their actual website. So you do get quite a bit on there, and the actual price. So that one came from Wisley. and was one of a pair that I got from Burnham's on that day, and they were my first Pleiones, and I'm hoping that the few that I've got at the moment will become more as we get towards the end of the year. I have several sources that should point some my way as we get to that time of year. So anyway, short and sweet, a little bit of work on that one, and hopefully this will grow on and produce a reasonable bulb that may not bloom next year, but next year it should produce a new bulb that will be hopefully blooming size. So we could be waiting a couple of years. That's the normal life cycle. Once you get a full-size blooming size bulb, then you should always get at least one side shoot in the spring which blooms, and the possibility of more than one, and then the possibility of the bulbils forming around the new growth that's just bloomed and produced its leaf. So there we go, and then the bulbils can be separated, planted up separately and grown on until they get to blooming size. The cycle repeats. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. See you next time. Bye for now.